What's good, y'all? This is Channel from NYC, and guess what? We are going to drag one of my least favorite horror movies ever. It is called Rings, and I hate it so much, so let's get into it. This movie came out back in 2017, and I was so excited to see it. I even went to the movie theaters to watch it, and I hate going to the movies. This is the third movie in the Ring franchise. The OG American one came back out in 2002. That's the best one. Then they had a sequel come out in 2005. So here's the basis. In the Ring franchise, the Ring universe, there is a haunted tape. Now, if you watch this tape, as soon as you finish watching it, you get a call and somebody says you're gonna die in 7 days. And then after 7 days, a girl named Samara climbs out of your television, gets water all over your floor, and kills you. Again, coming off of what I knew about the original The Ring movie, I was hype. Because it's 2017, we got technology, special effects are on point. Let's get it. Y'all, I was taken for a fool. But you know what? I'm getting revenge today, so we dragging it. It's gonna be spoilers, so if you don't want a spoiler, you know what to do.
Hello, Drew.
So we start off on a plane. There's a guy on a plane, he's stressed. Plane is supposed to land in the next 10 minutes. Shorty next to him kind of sees that he's feeling some type of way. She thinks he's cute probably, so she's like, hey, are you fine? Like, are you okay? Here he goes oversharing. Like, literally, she did not ask you all of this. Can you imagine being on a plane, like 10 minutes away from landing, and somebody's like, yeah, I'm fine, but like, I heard I was supposed to die today. Like, I don't know when that's gonna happen. Like, I would literally just start crying. Like, why are we telling this to strangers, bro? Lo and behold, the plane ends up crashing and that guy dies. 2 years later, the guy from the Big Bang Theory comes up and buys the VHS player and a tape from a flea market. I know his name is not Big Bang Theory guy, but that's what we're gonna call him. The guy who died on the plane, his parents donated his stuff to flea markets just because it was like, our son is dead, what we gonna do with this? So Big Bang Theory guy buys it, fixes up the VHS player, and watches it the same night. The tape, you guys. The tape that I told you about, he watches it. So now we're just waiting for him to die. On the other side of town, we meet a young couple, Julia and Holt. So Julia and Holt are trying out the long distance thing because Holt, who honestly looks like a teaching assistant, he looks like a grad student, he's going to go to college, presumably as a freshman. So Julia's going to stay in their hometown and work. The long distance thing is short-lived because within weeks, Holt somehow is mysteriously missing. But Julia's a ride or die. She's like, that's my man. Where is my man? She jumps in the car and goes to his school. So surprise, surprise, Johnny Galecki's character, aka the Big Bang Theory guy, he is Holt's professor in the movie. And it looks like the professor done got all these students involved with this tape. So left and right, students are dying, like passing away. That is OD. Like, these kids need tuition refunds. Once Julia arrives at the school, she ends up watching the clip. So now both her and her man are destined to die. Holt is like, Julia, I wasn't trying to tell you about this because I knew I was gonna be all right. And I'm like, bro, if that were the case, why didn't you just tell her, hey, I'm gonna be busy for a few weeks, so if I'm MIA, don't worry. You jumped off the face of the planet and didn't say anything. So in response, Julia's like, don't worry, I'm gonna be fine. You gonna be fine, right? So I should be fine too. Y'all, why did 2 to 3 minutes after she say this, a bird hit a windshield, right? She got scared, jumped out the car and started running, and then almost got hit by an 18-wheeler. Like, girl, clearly you cannot take care of yourself. You will not be fine. So through the professor, we find out that the tape that Julia saw is a little bit different. There's creepy images that are on her copy that she watched that the other copies do not have. I do not understand how that's even possible because I could have sworn Julia watched this off of Holt's computer. Like, I just don't understand that. A bigger question is, why is this the case? Is this a fate thing? Why Julia? Because there's no indication that Julia was marked or destined for this fate beforehand. She just so happened to drive to her man's school and be sticking with him for a while. About an hour into the movie, Julia and Holt go on a road trip with no snacks, by the way. They go to a place called Sacrament Valley or Sacramento Valley, I don't remember. We're gonna call it Sacrament because it sounds cool. So this small town is supposed to be where Samara, the girl from that creepy video and the one who's killing everybody, is buried. It is at this point that this movie takes the weirdest turn ever. It gets weird and it gets ridiculous. I don't even really know what she thinks is gonna happen when she finds Samara. Like, are you gonna talk? You're gonna get some chai, some tea? You're gonna take her to Starbucks? Like, what do you think you're gonna do? Do you think that you're gonna get free from this curse? Did she tell you that? So Julia and Holt show up in this quiet old town and start cutting up. Like, they're asking questions, and you can tell the locals are like, girl, we do not do that around these parts. Like,
something, sweetheart, I don't know how y'all do shit where you from, but let me tell you something, where I'm from, we don't do shit like that.
But it doesn't matter because time is of the essence for Julia and Holt. They don't care about no respectability. They trying to save their own lives. So Julia goes to a cemetery in this town. She feels a vibe, and she's convinced that Samara is buried in one of the plots there. So Burke, who is a blind man who watches, yes, I know, over the community, he's alerted that Julia and Holt are in town cutting up. He sends one of his goons. He's like, yo, send them over here. They go over there. He's like, look, I know what y'all trying to do, and that's cute, but we don't do that around here. The professor is back, like, in town, and he gets a little clue. He figures some things out about the connection between Julia and Samara. And he calls them. They don't answer though, and he leaves a message, and he's like, I'm gonna come through. I got something to say. So he drives there. As soon as he's like a little bit outside of the town, he dies. I'm sorry, he dies in a car accident, so he doesn't really get to say what he needs to say, but they end up figuring it out anyway. So the reason why I'm annoyed by this movie is because it is ridiculously different from the original one. I came into this movie with the knowledge that I already had. We find out halfway through the movie, when we get to this Sacrament Valley, we find out this is a double origin story. This is trying to figure out what happened to Samara's mother, but we weren't coming into that knowing that. It's just like what the writers gave us. And we didn't even ask for it, but it's what we got. So Julia discovers that Samara's mother, who's named Evelyn, she was held hostage while pregnant. She became pregnant after being taken advantage of by the town priest, and the town priest had her spend her days underground before she escaped at 8 months pregnant. We also find out that the priest is actually Burke, who is the blind guy, and the only reason why he is blind is because he did not want to see the tape. He didn't want to get killed. He didn't want to, nothing like that. He says, Samara, stay over there, little girl. So Julia ends up finding Samara's skeleton, and that is confusing to me. They did kind of like explain it, but if you've seen the original movie, Samara was adopted by a woman named Anna Morgan, and she grew up in the same state. I think this is based in like Washington State or like the Pacific Northwest, and she's brought up in a small town that's kind of near the ocean. I believe that Samara's origins began on that property where she was living with her adoptive mother, but now we're finding her here in this random small town. And then it's like, where is Samara's mom? Like, where's the mom's remains? Like, is she even alive? Julia wants to cremate Samara's skeleton for reasons that I do not know. Maybe she thought that she could like lay her spirit to rest or something, but Samara did not ask for this. She did not give you confirmation that cremation is what her spirit needed or wanted. Burke claims that this will result in bad things happening, but they do it anyway. And honestly, in Julia and Holt's defense, Burke is trash. Like, you are not a good person. I also would not be eager to believe him. Burke is not trying to let that happen too easily, so a fight ensues, and during this fight, Samara randomly pops up through Julia's phone. She puts the hands on Burke, and now Burke is dead. So Julia and Holt, they go back home. They're like, yes, babe, we done made it. Like, we unbreakable. But you know what, y'all? The nightmare is not over. Samara is reincarnated within Julia, so they didn't actually kill her. Before I drag this movie with my bullet point, got a few good things to say. Julia was not playing about her man. She's a real one for that. Again, the creepy images are still very, I'm not gonna say scary, but I just felt uncomfortable looking at them, and that's a good thing. That's how I want to feel. It's Halloween. In general, the couple, Julia and Holt together, I think they were pretty good. Honestly, they kind of like had a lack of communication in the beginning, but they hold each other down and they pull their weight. Let's get to the cons. Number one, Holt's name is Holt Anthony. Why? Why couldn't it have been Anthony Holt? Next, in the original The Ring from 2002, there is a darkish blue or green hue that they cast over the movies. That hue is applied to all of the movies, including the third one that we're talking about today. I do not care. It's still a mess. I feel like they only applied it in this movie so it could feel like it was part of the franchise. But other than that, get out of my face. You are a garbage bag and not hefty. Why did the professor drive to Julia and Holt? Now, granted, he probably still would have got killed because Samara wants what Samara wants. But why didn't you just keep calling them or text them? Like, they would have seen the phone eventually. You're gonna drive there. It's gonna take mad long to get there. What are you doing? In some ways, I do feel like the movie took some liberties and switched things up. But when they did that, those ways were so trivial. It didn't even benefit the movie. It kind of just made it more confusing at times. Conversely, though, they managed to also do nothing original at all. In the movie, it could have been like this was a viral video or like a stupid fraternity challenge or something like that. This movie had a budget of $25 million. They could have been way more creative. All we really see for most of the movie is Julia and Holt fighting Burke. The only person that we see get killed by Samara is like some random white girl in the beginning, and that's actually it. The professor kind of dies because of Samara, probably like just a supernatural energy. She doesn't do her typical crawling out of the screen thing, and then she pops up at the end to like pop Burke in the head one time. That's really really it. I did not watch this movie to see a blind man fight a young white couple. I feel like it would have made more sense for Samara to still continue to haunt the original town because that's where she was killed. And she doesn't really have a connection to the new town. Her mom actually does, but I don't think her mom died there. I don't even know what happened to her mom. I think she just ran away and had a baby somewhere. I think what would have been cool or interesting would be to have Samara's biological mom included, uniting them as spirits and putting an end to everything, or just something like that. It would have been like, oh, cool, okay. Now that's an OG origin story. That's how you would do that. Burke's excuse for not wanting to touch Samara's corpse and do anything with it, his excuse was the whole unspeakable evil will be unleashed onto the world. And I'm like, has that not already been happening though? Like, people have been dying. What really pissed me off is the fact that we do not get enough of the deaths from Samara. I can't believe I'm actually saying it because it's like, I don't like death, but you know, it's a scary movie. The first two deaths that we see are very uneventful. There's no fear invoked at all. At least when you're on the plane, the idea of being stuck and not being able to escape is kind of scary. But when Sky, who was like one of the professor's like students that he was dealing with in many ways, let me say, when she died, it was boring. But if you think back to the original The Ring movie from '02, when they would show the victims, they would show their faces, they looked contorted. Like, it was really scary at the time. I was like shook when I was a kid. And you know, for most of my childhood, I was like, oh, this is a real quality scary movie. Like, it is scary to me. That was a good use of a jump scare, in my opinion. When Julia discovers Sky, she does have the same contorted face that we see in the original movie, but it wasn't as scary. Like, I thought they would build more on that in the meantime, and they really didn't. Technology has advanced so much from when the first movie was made, and this is the best y'all could do?
Oh, wow. I am disgusted. You better talk to her before I do, because I'm hurt her feelings.
When I tell you, nobody was even asking for a third movie. Like, literally nobody. The second movie in the franchise came out in like '05 or '06. That's like over 10 years later that another movie came out. Nobody was thinking about The Ring like that. Y'all could have kept this, or at least put more thought into it. This movie is incredibly boring, and it does absolutely nothing to build upon the foundation that was set by the first two movies. Nothing. The real horror is the fact that this movie was released in the first place, and I hope I never see it again. As always, if you stuck around with me this long, I sincerely appreciate it. I want to know your thoughts. Do you even care about this movie? Did you ever see the original movie? Am I gassing it? Am I giving the first The Ring movie more than it deserves? Like, let me know, because I could be wildin'. I want to know your thoughts, so let me know down below, and I'll see you next time.